Do you have something important that you need to do next week? If so, traditional electional astrology can help maximize the chances of your success. So, in this video, I'm going to break down the best times over the next 7 days for you to have a selection of charts to work with for any important events that you're planning in your life around this time. The principle of electional astrology is that the events happening on Earth to us correspond to the or are reflected in the movements of the planets in the sky based on a animistic view of the universe. So if we choose a time when the planetary configurations are auspicious, it portends that whatever we're doing at the same time is going to have a good outcome. So let's have a look at the astrology of June 8th to June 14th and the alignments that we want to work with and avoid during this time. So we have one of the very best moments of 2026 coming up on Tuesday, the 9th of June. On this day, Venus will come to a conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer. And these planets are the two benefics. They represent everything good in the world, like joy, love, nurturing, laughter, wisdom, hope, optimism, and so on. When they come together in a sign, it suggests that there's a concentration and overflowing of positive things in this area of our lives, unless that part of our chart is otherwise compromised by malefics. And especially with Jupiter exalted in Cancer, it tells us that that benefic in particular has something special to offer us in that sign. And I think what makes Jupiter so good in Cancer is it takes the traditional significations of the planet, which relate to it's said traditionally that Jupiter relates to higher wisdom that comes, not from this world. So, like religious or philosophical wisdom. And I think Cancer, which relates to, the most tender and protected parts of ourselves, like our homes and families, it just makes that wisdom a lot more down to earth and relatable. And so, Jupiter in Cancer, for example, can manifest as being uplifted and supported by a local community, a lot of people having babies and expanding their families, having pleasant time with our chosen families, having beautiful environments surrounding us, and also just learning better how to recognize and express our feelings and emotions and how to nurture ourselves, which are all key Cancer significations, given that the sign of Cancer can relate to the young phase of life, babies, infants, and nurturing, and so on. So we definitely want to highlight this benefic conjunction on June 9th. The very next day, Mercury, which is also in the sign of Cancer at this point, will make an exact square to the sign of Saturn in Aries. And Saturn, which is in its full in that sign, is in the superior position and has a lot of power to harm Mercury. And usually, a Saturn Mercury square means that there are going to be delays and restrictions in regards to our communications. We might receive a piece of very depressing news. And so that is something we don't want to highlight, but it is helped by the fact that Jupiter and Venus are in the same sign as Mercury and providing it with some support, even if they're not very close by degree. On Saturday, June the 13th, Venus will change signs and move into Leo, and this will begin a build-up towards the Venus-Pluto opposition the following week, which will bring up some challenging relationship dynamics. And then on the last day of this week, June the 14th, we will have a new moon in the sign of Gemini, which is going to be a prelude to a lot of Gemini activity that's going to be happening towards the end of this month and into July. We're going to have a Mars Uranus conjunction in that sign. So this is kind of telling us, signifying us that this sign is going to be important for the next lunar cycle. And it will be a good moment for us to reflect on the Gemini area of our charts and how it's shifted following the ingress of Uranus and how that's churning things up and bringing unexpected twists and turns in the Gemini area of our lives. So that's an overview of the astrology for next week. Mercury is also moving towards its shadow degree. It's going to go retrograde in the sign of Cancer next month. So right now it's starting to tread over the ground that it will eventually come back to. So you can look out for anything that comes up with Mercury um, in Cancer at the moment, and you might have to revisit those things next month. All right, so let's look through the rising signs and see which ones are going to be usable for us next week. If we start with sunrise and Gemini rising, this chart ruler, which is Mercury, will only be usable once Mercury has cleared its square to Saturn by at least 3 degrees, if not 5 or more. Otherwise, it would signify that, our ascendant ruler is being restricted and damaged by Saturn in some way. Cancer is going to be one of the best rising signs next week because it's home to both benefics in the first house. And although there is some challenge from Saturn placed in the 10th whole sign house, which signifies some restrictions or delays due to superiors or people in authority over us, the benefic conjunction makes this so lovely that it's still worth working with this chart despite those challenges. Leo rising is not usable at the moment because Mars is in the 10th house. There's nothing else really positive going on at the fixed signs at the moment to mitigate that. And during the day, Mars is just going to be very angry and irritable, and it's going to cause conflict with authority figures, and we don't want to use that. Virgo rising, similarly to Gemini, can be used once Mercury has cleared its square to Saturn, so when it's at least 15, 16 degrees of Cancer. After that, we can start to use Virgo rising again, and that has Mercury and both benefics in the 11th house, which is nice. Libra rising, although it has both benefics angular, has Saturn in the 7th house, directly opposing and creating a roadblock to what we want to achieve, and therefore we don't want to use Libra rising at this time. Scorpio rising would have Mars ruling the ascendant from the 7th house, but seeing as it's in its detriment, Mars is going to be feeling like under-resourced and disadvantaged and quite foreign in this sign, and also having a malefic in the 7th house without anything really positive going on in any of the other angular signs suggests there would be conflict between you and any partners that you're working with. Sagittarius rising is ruled by Jupiter in Cancer. It puts the ascendant ruler and both benefics in the 8th house, which can relate to mental anguish and sufferings, and also just makes the planet more passive and inactive. So it's not a great place to have our ascendant ruler, and in general, I would avoid it. Capricorn rising will be ruled by fallen Saturn in Aries in the angular 4th house, and don't want to highlight that. We don't want to have Saturn in such a fallen and depressed position in charge of the outcome of our election. And the same applies for Aquarius rising, which is ruled by Saturn in Aries as well. So then we come to Pisces rising, which will be one of our nicest rising signs this week because it's ruled by Jupiter in Cancer in the 5th house, the house of Venus's joy, of creativity, dating, children, and so on. And this will be a lovely sign for us to use. The nodes are angular in Pisces and Virgo at the moment, but other factors definitely outweigh that positively. Aries rising and Taurus rising would have Saturn or Mars, respectively, in the 1st house. And with the malefic in the 1st, it suggests that us ourselves are going to cause some issues or run into some direct issues, or just that whatever we're starting is going to run into some delays or irritations. And so we don't want to place malefics so prominently and associated with us and what we're doing. So that's an overview of the rising signs next week. So now let's move on to our elections. And we're going to start the week on June 8th at around 8:50 a.m. in your location. And you want to adjust the chart to get around 8 degrees of Pisces rising, which will be the hour of the moon, the planetary hour of the moon. And if you want to check out the very best chart of next week, you can stay till the end of this video where I will show that. Now, in this chart, our ascendant ruler is Jupiter. It's placed in the fifth house, and the Venus Jupiter conjunction is pretty much um, going exact at this point. So that's telling us that there is a concentration of positive things going on in the fifth house to do with children, creativity, dating, and so on. And it's supported not only by a nice angular sun in the fourth, but also by the moon, which is in Pisces in the first house, and it's applying to that sun in Gemini. So at this stage of the month, we're in the third quarter, we are moving, the moon is decreasing in light at this point, but the third quarter is kind of the last point. We still have enough light to start or initiate things. And so there's a mutual reception between the moon in Pisces and which is in Jupiter's sign, and Jupiter in Cancer, which is in the moon sign and also exalted. So for this chart, we really want to play on that mutual reception. There is a strong exchange of resources between you and the fifth house. So traditionally, this house setup can relate to teachers and students. So if you work in education and you have something to do, if you're a student and you need some support or something from your teacher, or if you're a teacher and you have students and you need to initiate something to do with them, or get support for your classroom and students, this would be a great time to take that action. The fifth house also relates to our love life and dating. So this our love life and dating, but unfortunately, Mercury, the ruler of the seventh house, is in not such good condition in this chart because it's applying to square Saturn. So we don't want to use it necessarily for something involving another person directly, like one-on-one, but this could be a good time like for you to work on or like brainstorm your goals on like what you want for your love life, doing like a um vision board for your dating or what you want romantically. um and the fifth house can be sexuality as well. So if sexuality is a topic you've been thinking about and you want to think about more like how your sexuality can support you and your identity, this is also a good time to take action regarding that. And the fifth house is related to children. So if you are looking for a time to conceive a child, this could be a good chart for you to use, quite a fertile chart. And if you already have children and you need to do something for them or related to them and their schooling perhaps, then this could be a good chart, a good time to do that as well. And, just in general, the fifth house is the house of creativity. If you have a creative art, music project or anything like that you want to start around this time, this would be a great election. And the fifth house can also relate to just like playing games, having fun. It can relate to like gambling and things like that as well. And also like just having fun, like throwing parties. I wouldn't use it for gambling or for like social events because the second house is not great with Saturn there, and it's also ruling the 11th house of like friends. But we could use it like if you want to purchase a new game or a gaming console, or like there's a new competitive sport you want to sign up for, then this would be a fantastic chart. All right, so those are like most of the significations I can think of for this chart. Just be aware of that Saturn Mercury square going on at this time. It's not good for communications, especially with Mars in the third house there as well. All right, let's move on to our next chart, which is going to be the 10th of June, Wednesday, at around 7:08 a.m. in your location, which I've set to Los Angeles here, and it will be the planetary hour of the moon. So just a chart to get around 8 degrees of Cancer rising. And the ascendant ruler of this chart is going to be a fiery moon in Aries, which is separating from a square to Mercury. and applying to a sextile with the Sun in Gemini. And this is our first Cancer rising chart and gives us an opportunity to really highlight that Venus Jupiter conjunction. So you could use this chart, I think, to do a Jupiter working. It's one of our last times to highlight Jupiter in Cancer before it leaves the sign, and it's been made even better with Venus being there. So in traditional astrology, Jupiter is a temperate planet that supports, uplifts, and enriches us, and it's said to relate to like wisdom not of this world, such as religious or philosophical wisdom, as well as the law in sense of like the divine law and like morality and things like that. It's said that Jupiter is, it's far from all the like mundane and like base things of this world, and it can be related to kings, priests, people at very knowledgeable and high level positions, and also just like great works of knowledge and wisdom. It's said to uphold divine law. It's a lover of friendship, the truth. Um, it accumulates riches and wealth. It's a guardian of oaths. It loves jokes, affection, and laughter, and is just generally associated with good and noble deeds. So I hope that could inspire something to do with Jupiter you might want to do at this time. And Jupiter is also said to rule the third decan of Cancer, which is the Four of Cups in Tarot. And working with Jupiter in this phase is said to grant you the ability to know how to enrich yourself with, riches and also wisdom without profiting at anyone else's expense, and also bring you an appreciation of philosophy, arts, and literature. So if you wanted to start a project around this time related to these themes, or if you just wanted to make a Jupiter offering, a Jupiter altar, or something like that, then this is a great time. And I think Moon in Aries plus Jupiter in Cancer, it's very cardinal, initiatory energy. It's quite lively energy as well, even though we're in the third quarter moon stage at this point. We do just need to be aware that the moon is co-present with Saturn, although its last separating aspect is Mercury. So it's protected a little bit by aspect and degree, but they are still co-present by sign. So there might still be some restrictions and delays, especially if you're doing anything related to like your boss or authority figures, or like trying to rise up in your public life or at work. You could experience delays in this area due to the Saturn in the 10th house co-present with the moon. And now we come to June 13th, and we have a chart at around 54 minutes past midnight and 17 degrees of Pisces rising, which is the hour of Jupiter. So this looks similar to our previous Pisces rising chart, but at this stage, the moon has very little light, and we're coming up on this new moon in Gemini the next day. So we have the moon exalted in Taurus, and it's separating from a sextile with Jupiter, and it's applying to sextile Venus. And I love this aspect. Not only is the moon exalted, is Jupiter exalted, but the moon is contained by the benefics, which is a configuration traditionally said to keep it completely safe. And that's why I've given this chart, even though the moon is co-present with Mars. And so, because the moon has very little light, for this lunar phase, it's not good to start something or launch something that you haven't done so already. And instead, this energy is better used for removing or getting rid of things in your life that are no longer serving you, or just spending time like reflecting or meditating on relevant topics. So, for this chart, it would be a good time to meditate and reflect on topics such as your love life and dating life, your creative process, your goals to do with children, your any competitive sports or games that you play. Also a good time to like reflect on your hobbies and how you have fun, and maybe just do like you could either do like a journal or meditation, or you could just take actions to get rid of things that are no longer serving you in these areas. So, for example, like if you have people that you've been dating and they're just not really working out anymore, but you want to bring things to an end amicably, then this moment can help you have like a amicable parting. And now that Mercury is moving away from Saturn, and it's in this sweet sign of Cancer, I think it can help you, like help your words have empathy and compassion and just have like a pleasant ending, or yeah, a pleasant ending um to do with your love life. And the same can be applied to other fifth house topics, right? Like if you've been doing like this recreational sport after work, but it's not really working out for you anymore, you don't have time for it, and um you want to quit, but you don't want to like create any animosity or something like that, you can use this chart to like use this chart to like cancel your spot and hopefully not have any like negative backlash from it, or anything like that. So that's how I would use this chart. And then we come to June 14th, which we're very close to the new moon in Gemini. The moon is already in that sign at this point, and we have a Gemini rising chart. So it's going to be around 4:54 a.m. on June 14th, which is Sunday, and adjust the chart to get around 10 degrees of Gemini rising, which will give you the planetary hour of Jupiter. So this chart is really highlighting the upcoming new moon, and this new moon is quite special because it will be happening close to the fixed star Capella. And the fixed star Capella is a very benefic star that's associated with two images. One is the image of a shepherd and its flock, and the other is someone riding a drawn chariot. And these images tell us about Capella's associations with like nurturing and taking care of things that support us, just like a shepherd takes care of its flock, so that they can be his or her livelihood, and a chariot, working with machines and technology to move faster and to go places. Because it's a new moon, again, we don't want to be starting anything new or launching anything into the world. So this day would just be a great time to sit down and like meditate on those themes, like what's my relationship, or how can I bring more things into my life that nurture and support me? Are there any like tools or technologies that I could use to help me maybe just like move faster through my day? Or just like literally, do I want to, I don't know, maybe um, do like some vision boarding or planning for like my transportation circumstances? Like, how can I, like what vehicle can I use to get around faster? And the chart is being ruled by Mercury in Cancer. Mercury actually rules the second decan of Cancer, and in this phase, it's said to bring sweet words and communication. Um, communication that has empathy for others. It's said to bring greater mastery over your voice as well. And so I like this. I like there's some synastry here, I think, between the associations of Capella with like finding greater support for yourself, and then like this very supportive and like emotionally nurturing Mercury as well. Like I feel this, if you did a meditation or journaling at this time, you would have like capacity to say like caring and positive words to yourself. And Mercury is in the second house here. You might also find yourself being drawn to like thinking about topics of self-worth, the things that you value and how you value yourself. And if that chart is too early for you, there's an arguably better one on the same day, June 14th, at around 11:54 a.m., which is around 11 degrees of Virgo rising. So adjust your chart to that degree, and the planetary hour of Jupiter. So this has the upcoming new moon, but it's now happening in the 10th house. And this chart is better than the previous one because the chart ruler Mercury is no longer in the dark second house, it's in the fortunate 11th house of friends and groups. So this would be good for the same things. It's great for a meditation on like our words, how we speak to ourselves and others, how we nurture ourselves, what support networks do we have for ourselves, and then like what technologies and vehicles are we using to help ourselves get around. And also just like a general meditation on the Gemini area of our chart. For example, if you are a Virgo rising, then you can think about like your career goals, your public life, are things working out for you at work, with your superiors, and so on. And also just doing like some mental resilience building for the upcoming Mars Uranus conjunction that's going to be happening there. And yeah, just improving your relation to yourself and the Gemini sphere. And it's also interesting, this new moon, is in the third decan of Gemini. The sun is said to have some dignity in this space as well. It's approaching the time of the summer solstice, which is a very powerful like solar time of year. So if you wanted to like do some meditation on solar topics um like your visibility in the world, your leadership, your get up and go, you can also have a think about those things. And the sun in the third place of Gemini can also just like help bring awareness to your interests and your talents. And now we come to our very best chart of next week, which is on Monday, June 8th at around 8:08 a.m. in your location, and adjust the chart to get around 19 degrees of Cancer rising, and the planetary hour of Jupiter. So in this chart, we have a lovely mutual reception between Jupiter in Cancer, which is in the moon sign, and then the moon in Pisces, which is in Jupiter's sign. And this not only creates a strong rapport between the two signs, it also creates a connection between the two houses. And in this case, it's the first house, which represents you and whatever you're doing at this time. And, on Monday, it's still the third quarter stage of the moon. So it is enough light to start something if you want to. And the ninth house, which relates to higher learning, like education, going to university, going back to school, long distance trips, traveling abroad, anything which expands our horizons, philosophy, religion, and also just like how we plan our lives long term, like our relationship to long periods of time. So, and we also have that Venus Jupiter conjunction happening in the first house, very benefic, very lovely. So, you could use this house to launch something with a ninth house emphasis. The moon there is separating from the sun and applying to Venus, and then very quickly Jupiter after. So if you need to apply to college, if you need to apply to school, if you need to apply to a teaching position, if you need to book a long distance trip, or if you need to book, you're moving overseas, if you need to do something in relation to your faith, your spirituality, if you want to start a new course, or if you just want to sit down and do like a long-term planning for your life, this is a great time to do that. And again, similar to our other chart on June 8th, if you do want to do a Jupiter working at this time, like a Jupiter offering, a Jupiter altar, or just something to do with the general significations of the planet, like law, friendship, wisdom, learning, or something to just uplift and affirm yourself in some way, you can also do that, or something to do with the third face of Cancer, which Jupiter rules, are working to like enrich and gain wisdom for yourself without profiting at the expense of others. And again, with all our Cancer rising charts, we just need to be aware that Saturn is there in the 10th house, so there could be issues to do with like someone in a position of authority being very strict and delaying us in some way. All right, so that's our very best chart of next week. You can also follow me on TikTok, where I do shorter breakdowns of the upcoming charts. And if you'd like a personalized election, you can check out my website, mirabelleturner.com, and check out the lucky dates option, where you can book a time to sit down one-on-one with me, and I'll go through your birth chart and the event you're trying to elect, and go through the best times for you to take action. And so if you are planning to, you have an important doctor's appointment or surgery coming up, you want to throw a party, you're thinking to ask someone out on a date, and you need auspicious time to do that, you can book a time with me and I will provide you with the best selection of charts for your time frame. And I'll be back next week with more charts, so I'll see you again next time and good luck using these elections.